Doubles and coffee. If the devil came to you in a dream and selected you to be part of his team and showered you with trinkets and opportunities to sit at the right side of the devil, would you celebrate? Would you celebrate with others and cheer loudly? I was viewing P&M screening and I saw a young fella selected to be a part of the P&M team under Keith Christopher Rowley. The Prime Minister is all-encompassing, all-powerful. The Prime Minister or the leader of a party in a Westminster system is the spirit of the party, the conscience of the party, and if it gets into government, the spirit and conscience of the government. The moral compass, the ethical standard, the standard of love and care and selflessness. The Prime Minister sets that example. When you screen and selected by a leader of a major party to go into a general election, you are being selected to represent the policies, the beliefs, the spirit, the heart, the soul, the brain of the Prime Minister. So it baffles me to see that a young P&M candidate selected for P&M stronghold is celebrating being selected by the devil. I use that strong terminology. I'm not just going to say it just so. I say to you that Keith Christopher Rowley is the devil incarnate. There is no redeeming factor about Keith Christopher Rowley. Keith Rowley has shown you who he is. Keith Rowley, when brought into a competitive situation, has no moral compass, no ethics. He brings his wrath to bear. Keith Christopher Rowley went on a platform when trying to usurp the former leader who screened him and allowed him to continue, even though Patrick Manning knew he was a raging bull, he was a devil. But Patrick Manning was a human being, a man, and he had a forgiving heart. This man said of his former leader that when he was ailing at death's door, he boasted and pounded his chest that it was in fact him from Mason Hall, near to Lekoto, who put Obi and Spirit Lash on Manning to bring him to his knees physically, physiologically, and health-wise. Go and listen. He said it in public, boasting. He didn't even keep it private. So proud is this devil, this greedy, gluttonous, envious devil called Rowley. So you celebrating that the devil screened you, that the devil selected you, that the devil wants you on his team? Think about that for a moment. Because you can also see the last 9 years. Those who selected by the devil, by Rowley, and no saying anything except those real disciples. The small pin, the Imbat, the Dwen, the Rohan, the few of them, you get discarded as you don't do what you're supposed to do. Ask Lahan, ask Al Oliveri, ask Adrian Leons, ask any P&M member who tried to do the right thing. I ain't have enough time in this video to go through the 275 P&M board members and chairman and chairwoman of boards who resigned because they refused to do the devil's work. So while you celebrate, I am confused. Because you're not celebrating to be your own man or your own woman to carry out policies in your heart. You could be very good. You could have great intentions to help people, to help poor people, to help single mothers. But you are going to serve the devil. And the devil determines what passes in the cabinet, who gets recusals, what policies are improved, what policies are approved and implemented. And in 9 years, the devil gave those who are higher than others recusals 50, 60, 70. The companies that became rich and continue to get rich, the rich get richer. But you're a poor man celebrating that you joined the devil team. And then you have the Faris Al-Rawi in a tight suit and shirt saying that a sea of red fills him with hope. There's no sea of red. Those are poor people that I empathize with, who have nothing better to understand or do, and feel that their entire future is in the hands of the devil, is in the hands of the PNM, that whatever job, whatever work, whatever position they have is totally, wholly and solely determined by being there in the PNM with a red jersey. So I have no problem with them being there. That's what they truly believe. But to any human being who believes in their ability, in their intelligence, in the systems that are there to create opportunities for creating a high standard of living, for reaching your goals, for working hard and succeeding, and understand that a government, you do not need a government to give you handouts or to give you a job or to give you a board position or to give you a corporation position. For those people who just want a government to do its function, to provide safety and security, protect the border, keep and spend the money, the taxpayers' money, with integrity, with accountability and transparency, to ensure water supply, to ensure the hospitals have oncology, drugs and medicine, to provide smooth roads, to provide safety, security on land, off land, between the islands, to ensure that you and your families could be successful and determine your future on your own without being beholden to anybody. To all those people, you cannot vote for the devil. They will not vote for the devil. They will not scream for the devil. They will not scream for Rowley. They would not. It reminds me of a movie called The Devil's Advocate. If some of y'all didn't see it, go and look it up. With Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino. Keanu Reeves was an ace lawyer, criminal attorney, brilliant, never lost, and so on. And he was wooed by this law firm, brilliant, amazing, big city, big money, big apartment, big perks law firm that was headed by a genius lawyer. Cut a long story short, he went there with his beautiful wife and so on from a Christian family, and it turned out that the law firm, the leader, the head of the law firm was the devil himself, who was protecting and providing legal services for evildoers, and his life spiraled out of control. Trinidad and Tobago is spiraling out of control. We are drowning in a sea of our own children's blood. Nothing in Trinidad and Tobago works. We are living in a position where our money has disappeared, and the man who leads the country shows his wrath, his gluttony, his greed. He illustrates every one of the 7 deadly sins. He was envious of those in power who were loved by the people. He was gluttonous and greedy and does procurement on his own. Ministers procuring. He and his super little pin minister going left, right and center and meeting with goods and service providers, gutting procurement legislation, greed, gluttony, envy, and the sloth. 375 days he's been on holiday, drinking scotch and eating shrimps at your dime, greedy, giving himself $1 million back pay. Every one of the 7 deadly sins, go and read it, especially you all more spiritual than me, is espoused, promoted, adhered to, endorsed and encouraged by Keith Christopher Rowley, the leader of the PNM. So those who celebrating being screened and approved by Rowley, think carefully. The devil just approve you. Don't think you should be celebrating. To the rest of the population, get ready. This is not no serious. This is not no simple fight. This is a fight of good over evil. This is a fight against the devil incarnate. I'm not joking. Look how you could take money from children life fund, children food, children laptop, children tablet, children sports, children education and gate. Who would do that? No normal human being who loves children would do that. would see the poverty rate rise from 16.8% to 30.2%, see mothers suffering and begging. No normal human being could do that. Only the devil could do that. Only the PNM could do that. You feel Kamla could do that? You feel the UNC could do that? So to all right-thinking citizens who don't need the devil for our work, get ready to vote. Time come.
Barry Padarat, as well as the MP for Chaguanas East, Caroni East, Dr. Rishi Sicharan. Let's all give them a Caroni Central welcome. I also must recognize in our midst a number of our councillors and aldermen from the Kuva Tabaki Talpara Regional Corporation, as well as our aldermen and councillors from the Chaguanas Borough Corporation. Ladies and gentlemen, I must also welcome those of us who are listening via online platforms. I say thank you for welcoming us into your private space. This evening we have a batch of speakers who will be on this platform, bring the issues to you, the real issues that are affecting Trinidad and Tobago, and those reasons and those issues, which is why we must be specially motivated to go out on election day in a couple months away and vote out the People's National Movement. Ladies and gentlemen, our first speaker is the councillor for Caparo Mamaral. He is a councillor who is serving his third term. He's the chairman of the building community at the CTTRC. He's the chairman of the Ravinsab Football League for the past 20 years, and he's the chairman of the Ravinsab Sports Club. He tells me that he's an avid sports enthusiast and sports fan, and used to play good football. I cannot verify that one way or the other. But ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome to the platform here this evening the councillor for Caparo Mamaral, none other than Mr. John Lizama.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that introduction. I used to play good football and better cricket. Good night to the Honorable Political Leader, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, Senior Counsel, Members of Parliament, fellow council members, aldermen, you, the people of Caroni Central, the viewing and listening public. Welcome to the constituency of Caroni Central. You all could do better than this, than just, we are in election mode, and we should be ramping it up that we want to form the government in 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, there are so many things to say here tonight, but I don't know if the time permits me to say almost everything. My friends, I stand here tonight to tell to you, the public and the people of Caroni Central, the reality of things that plague we as councillors in the Kuva Tabaki Talpoi Regional Corporation, and by extension, you, the burgesses of CTTRC. Tonight, I will try to touch on at least 4 topics that greatly and critically affect you for your daily lives for the past year. Well, I wouldn't say for the past year, for the past almost 10 years. And we will start, as I look around, that every day somebody started to tell you about water. Water in these areas have become from a daily basis to a monthly basis. You are given a schedule that you will have water in your taps tomorrow. However, from tomorrow, leave into a week, it through to 9 days, and then suddenly it becomes months that you are not without water. There are critical areas, and you don't want to touch on all the areas that are affected in the Caparo-Mamoral area, but basically I will try to touch on the areas in the Caroni Central area. We have areas such as Palmis, Chickland Road, Caparo, on the Caparo Valley Brasso Road, which is a major town now, by the way, Flanagan Town, Grand Couva. These areas have been suffering over this year for water. And not because just those actually suffering, they have no water. It has pained me, it's heart-wrenching when you hear people calling you at all hours of the night, Burgesses, when we get to water. Especially the elderly. I have no water in my tank. And those are the problems as a councillor you are faced with on a daily basis during this last year here. There is nothing you could do other than call WASA, relate to, they will give you a message and you have to relate to them the purchases. WASA says so and so. And you living in hope and nothing is happening with you for that water supply. You know, WASA was so lucky, but then again, the incompetence of the minister, who is Marvin Gonzalez. We have the prime minister, which is the head of the government, and most of all, we have WASA. And if they can provide you with a basic amenities such as water, what you are saying basically that this government is incompetent. Everyone can remember that between 2010 and 2015, nobody suffered that sort of problem for water. All country areas had water, new lines were laid and all sort of things, that we had water. Today, if you don't have money to buy water, you'll do without it. Children cannot go to school because they cannot wash any clothes. And this is what we keep facing on a daily basis. The time has come that you, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension, the people of Caroni Central, take a stand. That stand, according to the old people, just as night follow day, election coming. And that election wouldn't be coming 2 years down the line. That election is within 6 months of the new year. Think wisely. Do what you have to do. Convince everybody, every one of your family member, to go out and vote in this coming election. If you could convince your dog and all, take your dog to vote. We have no other choice than to rid ourselves of this evil government. You have to take a stand to make sure that your children, you of yourself, have security, and then you could put food on your table. Nobody at this point in time, absolutely nobody are safe in anywhere in their house. We have to send a message, and it starts at this point in time. Think carefully, we have an election to win. We keep saying that the PNM and the UNC are the same. UNC and PNM are not the same. No way anybody could tell me we are the same. We have fundamental difference in how our party was formed. We have a leader, every day that leader telling you that the solutions for this country. And we must listen to the leader at this point in time and make sure that we go and vote. The only way we could change this evil government is by voting. We cannot take up no gun to shoot nobody. We have to vote. You have a finger, that finger will talk. We have all that to do. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, you know, I just stray because of the amount of things that building in my head that just pass on a daily basis and you see people are suffering. We have infrastructure. Almost every road in my electoral district of Caparo Mamoral is deplorable. The so-called main road on the Caparo Valley Brasso Road, there are so much potholes. The verges on the road are not cut. Right now they are like arch. Those are the things that we are not getting. We are not getting those services from any part of this government. There is a road that is Edinburgh Road in London, in Shagona, not Shagona, it's Londonville, to be exact. Edinburgh Road, I feel dog don't even want to pass there. The condition of that road, I just don't know. Why, people live there. There's nothing to say that people just passing through it. People live there on that road. I think this year the minister said that we are going, in the budget speech, correct me if I'm wrong, that Edinburgh Road going to be fixed, and that how is just he's just waiting to award a contract. Budget passed in October, November, December. The pain the people them going around with, it's still there. It's still there, and up one day, that's how he would come or send anybody there to see about that road. But the people them are still suffering. These are the things, when you're thinking about election next year, that you will vote and get rid of. That them PNM must never come back to rule any part of Trinidad again. And we have to be careful what we say and how we do it. This is the time for no bickering. This is the time to move together as one team. And that one team will remove PNM from there. Before I go, there's a school in Palmis that falls smack dead in the Caroni Central area. Last year, December, that school burned down. Up to this day, nothing has been done to that school. Displace all the children. Parents have to leave home to break traffic at Londonville to go to 500. If they don't use that road, they try to use the same dilapidated road at Edinburgh and through 500 to get to that school to drop children to school. This is what children are facing, the children of Caroni Central and the environs. We ask and we keep calling on the Minister of Education, please come out and have something done to the Palmis government school. By the way, the school, the city TRC offered to demolish the school free of charge. Whilst we started breaking it down, the ministry sent a notice to stop. The school right there, same place as it today. CTRC was doing it for free. And the children are suffering now, we have nothing. This is what we are faced with. So the children displaced, parents have to find extra money to pay extra transport for the children, and they keep going. Those are the things that I tell you we have to fight to get rid of. We have to get rid of. And as I said, you know, sometimes you hear people say, UNC are doing nothing, councillors are doing nothing. Well, tonight, UNC in your face. You can't get away from that. UNC in your face. UNC telling you what happened. Sometimes you hear you talk, I ain't fixing a road, the council ain't fixing a road. We have $1.2 million or $1.3 million we get in recurrent to fix road. You tell me, divide 1.2 or 1.4 million by 15 and see what you get to fix any road. That is what you get for the year. And the minister saying that how you don't use the money. But then again, if the money is not released, what you will use? So this is what I said, and I keep elaborating on this. Ladies and gentlemen, think. Think. You don't have to think long and hard for what to do in 2025. You don't have to think. Every day it faces you. Your choice is very easy. Very, very easy. You have Kamala Prasad Bisasa leading a team of UNC soldiers. You're sure you could get something. And mind you, never forget what you had between 2012 and 2015. So I urge you, as I leave here tonight, please heed the call of the leader of the opposition. Do everything in your power. Come out there and vote, that we could take back power and rescue Trinidad from this evil government. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Let's hear it again for the Councillor for Caparo Mamoral, Mr. John Lizama. And he is quite passionate about his role and the responsibility that has been entrusted to him. But you can hear his frustration because he cannot deliver. He cannot deliver to his burgesses and to his constituents, and many of which are a part of Caroni Central. And what is particular about the Palmas Government Primary School is that when the ministry stopped, when they stopped the CTTRC from doing the work, they said, hold on, already we are wanted free. We will give our contractor to do it. So they're taking monies which can be used to fix the same road and giving it to a contractor. The other thing that he has highlighted is that these parents have to spend at least 1 hour every day extra dropping their children to school. And they want to tout and they want to say that the future of the nation is in the book bag of the children. They have the nice phrases, but when it comes to action, the UNC is about action, the PNM is about Mama Guy. Do you agree with me? They are about Mama Guy. Cry, lie, and Mama Guy. That is what the PNM is noted for. Nothing else. So ladies and gentlemen, let me just permit me to recognize in our presence here a very important gentleman from within this community who has been doing human service and who has been going beyond the call of duty to ensure that we have a safe community in Tree Roads and environs, and someone who has expended a lot of his personal time, effort and resources, his money in transforming this area. And he's none other than Mr. Rampy, who is also responsible for having us sit in this comfortable air-conditioned space that we are having this meeting in this afternoon. So let's hear it for Mr. Rampy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue on our program here this evening, I bring to you the Councillor for Couva East Balmain, who has been a community activist for many years, a former Holy Faith Convent student, currently pursuing a degree in emergency management. I bring to you Councillor Arlene Ramesa.
Thank you. Thank you to our Honorable Member of Parliament of Caroni Central for that introduction. Pleasant good night to our Honorable Political Leader, Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, Deputy Political Leaders in the names of Ms. Jolene John, Dr. David Lee, and Dr. Rudal Munilal, Members of Parliament, Councillors, Aldermen, Executive Members of the Caroni East, Caroni Central, Constituency Executives and the neighboring ones, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. A pleasant good night to each and every one of you here tonight with us, especially our viewing audience on social media and our UNC supporters all over the world. My name is Arlene Solomon Ramesa. I am the councillor for the Couva East Balmain district for the last 11 years. This is my 4th term. Welcome to Caroni Central at this UNC Cottage meeting. Tonight I want to speak to you about our country's social services. That this is particularly one of the ministry that has collapsed miserably. It is in a state of disrepair, and this is one of the most close to my heart service that each citizen of this country should have easily access to. Social services, I want to tell you tonight, has failed, it has collapsed. And some of the services that we should have easy access to falls under education, health services, housing programs, and transport services. Under education, the gate funding has cut. Students are allowed only for first degree programs if the university student wishes to pursue any higher education. No gate funding. Scholarship has been cut from 400 to 100. Laptop program. This primary school students program, this is a flagship program under our esteemed leader, the Honorable Kamala Prasad from 2010 to 2015. That's another program just cut. The health system has collapsed under Terry, obviously, Terrence Yal Singh. We are calling upon them to open the Children's Hospital now, because this Children's Hospital was a pilot project under the People's Partnership Program. It was unsafe and unfit to be used. However, it was perfectly used for a COVID facility, and it's presently used for a dengue treatment facility as well. So it wasn't good then, but it's good now. No beds at the hospital. We have been hearing about our residents on the corridors. They probably have no other way but they sign out and come home because what? No beds at the hospitals. The Cuba Children's Hospital was the facility to accommodate the whole of the entire Central. You don't have to be going to San Fernando and face all these hardships on the corridors. But that's the vision that the PNM has for us. See, that program has failed. There's very few benefits from it. And the most vulnerable and elderly persons cannot even afford medication via their pensions now. No medicines, not even a Panadol sometimes at the hospital. No jobs for our doctors coming out of UE. Imagine after you pursue your education, you make all these sacrifices, your family, your parents. When time for a job, now you can't get a job. Our Kamala Prasad had opened many children teaching hospital and training nursing facilities for our children. We haven't heard of one under this government. Nurses leaving our country for better conditions abroad. Yes, we can't blame them. But at the end of the day, we should have been able to provide and to have that facility here for them, and these services would have been coming back to us. 5,000 deaths under the COVID period, 2019 plus. That's something we know for a fact, and that's 5,000, could have been more. I want to ask you all something here tonight. Name a country you know of where a pharmacist is the Minister of Health and an engineer is there, a Minister of Finance. Where on the face of the earth could this happen? Only in Trinidad. God really have to help us here, you know. The housing program, this is another one where they do their thing in such a way, coming up to the elections, you will hear about houses given up in the east, in the west, very few in the central, and when they come to central, obviously it's not our people. They can only know how to build houses to encourage voter padding, nothing else. Transport services, the air bridge to Tobago, that's a problem by itself. We can't even fix the bridge that collapsed by the Carbicham RC school, neither the one by the Freeport Health Facility, but we're focusing, well, perseverance, but we're focusing on the air bridge to Tobago, spending millions and billions, and still, I don't even think a turtle even trying to put 5 little puddles towards Tobago. Forgive me, but that's the money, that's the squander money that continues, and we as the citizens suffering. Water taxi from San Fernando to Port of Spain, problems just last week. I saw on social media that one of the water taxis, it was sinking, and it was more water than passengers on the taxi. School buses for children, especially in the rural areas. Now that's something our UNC-led government, our Kamala Prasad and members of our ministers, they had the passion. Education was the first and foremost to bring children out of poverty, to take them off the streets, to prevent crime at a later time. That is something they don't take in their hearts first. I want to tell you here tonight, we can take no more of Rohan Sinanan, but my colleague went at length, so I wouldn't even touch that. Poor people suffering throughout the entire country. Grants under the Ministry of Social Development that can be accessed are only for the PNM stronghold and their families. For instance, we have the food support program, the food card. That is a total mess. You're in December, but that's the date for election call. And you'll see how much food cards go in my houses we don't know anything about. That's the thing. Post boxes already, I agree. Minor house repairs. The disability assistance grant for children. Now this is something I realize, and some of our budgets have been calling. They're actually seeing reasons to cut these disability grants for children. Now, it's only sensibly to think that if a pensioner happens to have a child within their home who's a disabled child, why would you cut the disabled child grant? That is for the child. Pensioners can't buy medication. How would they see about the child? No, they don't think, I believe forgive me, I always say, the PNM government has talk before they think. And they continue to do that on their dear leader. These grants are for the PNM, and for the people in the most difficult grants to access are the ones for us. They'll frustrate you 10 times, even a funeral grant. Family, you're mourning, in this state of loss, they will frustrate you. Go and get this, go and get this, come back with that, we need a copy of this, we need a copy of that. If it wasn't because of some funeral homes assisting the bereaved families, how frustrating it is. But they know how to get it for their friends and family. Our differently able, autistic persons, single parents, single fathers, single mothers, and I could go on and on. Under the stewardship and leadership of our Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar, the next Prime Minister of this country, we can all say that what I just call all the negativity, all the hardships and everything will be a thing of the past. Because our leader has a heart full of love and a vision for all, and I keep saying that. Our country needs her now more than ever. A UNC-led government by our political leader, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, is the solution. Is the antidote that is required to take this Trinidad and Tobago out of darkness. And you see this, I want to show you 1 minute. I don't know if I have time still. You see this thing about tightening your belt? I don't know if I'll look at it, but I have no belt. So imagine your Prime Minister telling you tighten your belt. Some person can't afford food on a table, fellas for a belt, but telling you tighten your belt. When he on the other end probably don't know which belt to put on or which hoop or loop to hold it on because he don't care. So, come this general election, and believe me, we have to go and do what we have to do. It have nothing about thinking twice what's going on in this country. We are suffering, and we are suffering, and we are suffering. So, I remember Gypsy had this song, Captain, the ship is sinking. Well, believe me, the seas are more than rough. So put your hands together and vote when the election is called for the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the UNC government to take us back to life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Arlene Solomon Hermesa. As we move along with our program here this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I must tell you and must reiterate that the UNC and the PNM are not the same. We are not. You know, and our chief purpose here this evening, you will hear him later. After all the outcry with respect to the SRC report, the PNM has given notice that they are going to debate the SRC report and has laid the SRC report in Parliament. They may go to debate very soon in respect of the SRC report. the PNM and the UNC are not the same. Kamla Persad-Bissessar is on record. The first time they brought this SRC report in February, she indicated then that do not give the politicians, herself included, an increase at this time because our nation, our children and everyone is suffering. Do not give the politicians an increase at this time. The Prime Minister goes on national television and at a press conference and says he has accepted the work of the SRC. That is the difference between the UNC and the PNM. We have a compassionate leader. We have a leader that cares for each and every one of us. I remember the very first day that Kamla Persad-Bissessar was sworn in, the very next day, there were floods throughout this country. And many of you remember, she didn't sit in her high office having attained a 29-12 victory. She went down on the ground in those areas which were flooded, and she went down there with the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And that is the difference between the UNC and the PNM. Ladies and gentlemen, up next on our program here this evening, our pavement report, is the councillor for this very area. He is very hard-working, a very compassionate, diligent, and a man of passion for the people when it comes to his burgesses. He represents them to the best of his ability and with the fortitude that's required at the council and at every turn. I bring to you, ladies and gentlemen, the councillor for Freeport-Chiclan, none other than Mr. Anil Baliram.
Good night, everyone. Honorable political leader, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, and all members of Parliament, and my colleagues at the Couva Tabaki Talpara Regional Corporation and the local government facility who are here tonight. So I listened to my colleagues very carefully. And I want to say here tonight, only the budget presentation gone last month. I observe and hear and listen carefully that the minister, I contacted the member of parliament and I give him a memo, I sent a memo via WhatsApp to him, where Minister Alwari, the TikTok man, transferred through the Ministry of Finance $3.4 million from the Couva Tabaki Talpara Regional Corporation and sent it to the Special Purpose Company, to friends and families, which is CPEP and the Rural Development Company. And when the minister, I remember listening Minister and MP, Khadija Amin asked him in the committee stage, he said the money was taken back from the regional corporation because the regional corporation was not spending it. But I want to set the record here straight. As a member of the Couva Tabaki Talpara Regional Corporation, that is money for the recreation grounds, for the repairs of recreation grounds. Estimates were sent to the Ministry of Local Government. That is money that was given to us. That what the PNM government has proposed and boasted about since it came in power, since 2015, that each corporation will be given 100 municipal police. The money that was $700,000 to repair vehicles and the police station was taken away from the Couva Tabaki Talpara Regional Corporation and sent to pay the friends and family in CPEP and the Rural Development Company. It did not go there. To top it off, the K9 unit of $700,000 that we received to build the K9 unit at the regional corporation. So when the TT Post complaining about stray dogs and they cannot deliver mails, we could have picked up dogs on the street at the cremation site and persons. That money was taken away from the Couva Tabaki Talpara Regional Corporation. And the minister has said that we did not spend the money. But how can we spend the money when our estimates was on your desk and you did not approve the releases to the Couva Tabaki Talpara Regional Corporation, but you want to say that we did not spend the money? That is to show only one thing, That is to show that the United National Congress councillors are not working. But we find ways, and we will expose them. That was a memo, and if the minister wants to challenge me, that was a memo, September the 2nd, 2024, and I have the memo in my possession, so I dare him to say it was not so. In addition, I heard the member for parliament for Oropouche East and the honorable political leader made a statement about the flooding that taking place throughout the country. And Minister Rohan Sidanan said, blame your councillors and the UNC Corporation for flooding. But I want to tell you here tonight that the Chief Executive Officer, the engineer at the Kuva Tabaki Talpara Regional Corporation is the person that serve notices on persons who violated. We at the Kuva Tabaki Talpara Regional Corporation do not have an engineer for 1 year and counting. So how can the minister say these things when in fact they have not equipped us with an engineer to do the job? And my brothers and sisters, I want to say something here. The minister, Colin Bird, the Prime Minister and everyone said that property tax will be sent back to the regional corporation for development works. I have been sitting in the finance stage committee at the corporation, and my colleagues will tell you is an estimated figure that they have placed on the draft estimate, and to date, Kuva Tabaki Talpara Regional Corporation has not get back 1 cent from the property tax that has been collected from the people of the Kuva Tabaki Talpara Regional Corporation. But the minister wanted to come up and said that the regional corporations will develop. How can we function if we do not receive funding from central government to do the job? So my brothers and sisters, I want to touch on a I heard my colleague speak about healthcare. On the 20th of November, I was sitting I reached at the Kuvata, at the corporation, and Councillor Balmati was there with me. And I received a phone call to go to the Freeport Health Center administer aid that one of my relatives collapsed. Not knowing, I would have gone at the Freeport Health Center to see an ambulance to pick her up dead. You know why? Under the United National Congress, I can recall carefully that health centers was open at 6 a.m. till 8 p.m. and it had doctors to attend to any emergencies that come. That health center was not open at that time. And there was not a doctor to attend to her to try to save her life. My brothers and sisters, we have no choice but to return the United National Congress into government to save this country. And my colleague has spoken about Palmer's Government Primary School. The MP will speak more about the Purcell Government School and the Purcell High School. The MP, I will leave that for him. But my brothers and sisters, we have reached in a time that our resources, and I wanted to tell you all tonight, for the last month, we at the Kuva Tabaki Talpara Regional Corporation could not have cut a recreation ground. Our water truck could not have gone out. Our cesspit truck could not went out. You all want to know why? The Ministry of Local Government, Faris Alwari, did not release a cent to purchase dieseline for the equipment at the Kuva Tabaki Talparo, and all our equipment was grounded. My brothers and sisters, we must tell Alwari, time for him to pack up and go, and tell the whole PNM government it is time to put a working government in place, the United National Congress. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. 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 Than
Thank you very much, Councillor Baliram. This evening, I want to also recognize in our midst our Member of Parliament for Kuva South, Mr. Rujanath Indar Singh. We also have the Member of Parliament, Michelle Benjamin, with us all the way from Moruga Tableland. So let's give them a Caroni Central round of applause. It is getting at that point in time when we'll soon be hearing from our members of parliament. But before we do so, we have with us the Deputy Mayor of the Chaguanas Borough Corporation, a young and vibrant activist, a young and vibrant attorney at law who practiced in the civil arena, who is also the councillor, a first-time councillor for the electoral district of Montrose. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening, welcome to the platform, Melissa Jadunanan.
Honorable political leader, the esteemed Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, Senior Counsel, Deputy Political Leader, Mr. David Lee, other members of Parliament, Member for Caroni Central, Mr. Arnold Ram, Member for Kuva North, Mr. Ravi Ratiram, Member for Kuva South, Mr. Rudy Indar Singh, Mr. Rashad Sitaran, Mr. Barry Paradath, and Ms. Benjamin, and all the hard-working members of our local government fraternity, UNC activists, UNC loyalists, welcome to Three Roads Junction Community Center. Last week, you heard from the Mayor of Chaguanas, His Worship Mr. Faiq Mohammed, on a topic crippling Chaguanas businesses, extortion. Tonight, I would like to continue. I can speak specifically to the businessmen in Launch Park who have expressed their concerns to me. What are you doing? What can we do to make their businesses safer, their homes and their families? Unfortunately, this national issue falls to central government. We are not equipped to handle these types of crimes. They have expressed concerns and the growing need for security and added protection in light of the menacing realities they now face: kidnapping, no forex, and extortion. With no intervention from central government, with this cancer attacking Chaguanas businessmen, they are left with no choice but to leave Trinidad. It boils down to safety of kith and kin, bags packed and ready to go to foreign lands to seek security. What will happen to our communities who depend on the business community for incomes to sustain households? What is the central government's response to this crisis? This uncaring PNM government continues to revel in salary increases, whilst the rest of the population continue to suffer while the needs of the population go unmet. Extortion is about power and fear, and people taking advantage of people who feel they have no choice. You see it every day, from the businessman forced to pay security money, protection money to keep his small shop or business alive, to the single mother who has to pull a string to get her child in school, or the neighbor who have to pay a little extra to get water supply while the rest of us remain parched. But extortion doesn't only exist in the shadows of our streets. It thrives in the corridors of power, and that is where it truly becomes dangerous. I want to get straight to the point. The Minister of Finance attempted to intimidate the Auditor General for doing a job. The Auditor General reported that $3 billion went missing from the Treasurer. That's not little change. That's we money. That's money for hospitals, to build schools, to build roads. That's money to feed hungry children, repair potholes, and secure our communities. But instead of addressing the issue with accountability and transparency, the minister chose to lash out and made accusations of sowing discord instead of answering to the billions that went missing. Is that political extortion? You tell me. Let me also remind you of something. Extortion thrives when good people stay silent. We are not about to stay silent. And those in authority who think they can use fear and threats to get their way, now is your time, and the people of this country are now waking up. Our political leader has fought and spoken out bravely on a myriad of issues such as these, touching on the ANR airport. Basically, in short, A report showed where a contractor was directed to fix things. The structural integrity was called into question, and the contractor did not. And now this has resulted in cost overruns in the amount of approximately US $67 million. Why was nothing done from 2 independent reports submitted? To extort monies from your pockets? When they say cost overruns, whose pocket do you think that's coming from? We have a constitutional right for protection and enjoyment of property subject to due process. We have a right to be afforded the protection of rights, to not be deprived of those rights and privileges. But brothers and sisters, I find it strange that the central government forced property tax on the citizens of this nation to take it in SRC, 91 million collected in property tax to help finance 151 million in back pay. Because at Chaguanas Borough Corporation, we receive no allocations from property tax for infrastructural development. So where the money? It's sleeping out? Our political leader said no to the SRC. She identified that the timing was wrong. She identified that the prioritization of this was wrong. She identified that this was not what the country needed at this juncture. Because she understands the heart of the nation. She understands that the country did not need a pay increase while the rest of the country remained marginalized. But the PNM government is calculating and callous, and its band of masters of disguise have once again managed to make disappear the 4 pariah divers. I will never forget it, and we must never. $3 billion, and the value from not 1 but 2 independent reports advising on compromised structural integrity of the ANR airport, because nothing came of it. But what they did make appear was cost overruns in the amount of $67 million. Our leader highlighted this and is calling for a probe into this maladministration. But back to Chaguanas and the extortion being faced by Chaguanas businessmen. In this festive season, where the spirit of Christmas is about spreading joy, Chaguanas businessmen are gripped with fear. What is the response from central government to these concerns? What has the Commissioner of Police put in place for protection of these law-abiding citizens who have been targeted? Nothing. Nothing is the constant with this administration. A sad and dismal state of affairs under this current regime. But your turn is coming. You will have the opportunity. And Saddam says to stain your finger. Your opportunity is coming to stain your finger. To make the change, to vote out incompetence. Vote out no protection of the law. Vote out no protection of rights and privileges. Vote out lack of representation. Vote out no repercussions for corporate malfeasance. Vote out inadequate allocations. Vote out inefficiency for releases. Vote out no economic growth. Vote out high rates of unemployment. Vote out high rates of inflation. In other words, your turn is coming when you will vote out this uncaring PNM government. But before I go, San Fernando West, we look forward to your support for our candidate, Dr. Daulat. San Juan Barataria, for your continued support for our very own dynamic, talented, powerful Saddam Hussein. And Chaguanas East, let us return this seat to the rightful custodian, the ever hardworking defender of all causes in Chaguanas, the warrior, Vandana Mohit. I thank you.
Simply brilliant by young attorney and deputy mayor of the Chaguanas Borough Corporation, Melissa Jadona. Let's hear it for Melissa one more time. And Melissa spoke about extortion of businessmen. And I can tell you, when we had somebody in the person of Senior Superintendent Johnny Abraham, who is here with us this evening, when he was in charge of the Central Division, bandits were fleeing from Chaguanas and going elsewhere. So, Mr. Abraham, welcome to Pavement Report this evening. As we continue our presentation here this evening, the next speaker is a fighter. He has been someone who has been in the trenches of the United National Congress for more than 2 decades. He is an engineer, electrical and computer engineering degree from the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. He holds an MBA from the Australian Institute. He is your Member of Parliament for Couva North. I bring to you MP Ravi Ratiram.
Thank you very much, Chairman of this evening's Pavement Report, Member of Parliament for Caroni Central. Let's give it up for your MP Arnold Ram. Honorable political leader and the best Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago and the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa. I want to recognize our Deputy Political Leader, Member of Parliament for Pointe-à-Pierre, Shadow Minister of Energy, Dr. David Lee. And my other brother, you know they say Couva North and Couva South is one. My brother, the MP for Couva South, MP Rudranath Indar Singh. Deputy Mayor, Councillors, Chairman, Aldermen, members of our constituency executive, I recognize my colleague, the MP for Princetown, MP Barry Padarat, MP for Caroni East, MP Rashad Sicharan, and all you distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good evening to each and every one of you. I say a pleasant good evening, however, since this Keith Rowley administration has come into office, it has not been a good evening for any of us, for any of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, brothers and sisters. And as the Christmas season approaches, it should be a time for joy, a time for giving, and a time for sharing. Yet under this uncaring P&M government, it has become a season for struggling, for begging, a season of despair for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. This Christmas, my brothers and sisters, the food prices that we have to pay at the supermarkets and at the market are at an all-time high. Basic staples have become luxury food items. Look at the prices, my brothers and sisters, from what we would have experienced from 2015 to now, where the price of simple things like flour, which would have been $12.99, is now close to $20. The price of 2 kilograms of rice, which would have been $19.99, is now close to $30. Imagine something like margarine, which was $7.99, is now $16 and climbing. Imagine things like potato, aloo, one of our favorite for aloo, a little aloo choker that we used to make for a little $1.50 and $2 a pound. Now aloo has risen to $6 a pound. Onion and garlic are now like luxury items on a grocery list, my brothers and sisters. Family who should be preparing for joyous celebration are instead figuring out how to stretch the dollar to put the next meal on the table. This government's mismanagement has plunged our country into a crisis where even Santa Claus may be dodging Trinidad and Tobago, brothers and sisters. Not because of reindeer problems or the bad roads that we are facing across the length and breadth of our country, but because of the fear of getting robbed on the streets or in the homes. Our friend Johnny Abraham will tell you about it. Nowhere is safe, my brothers and sisters. In Trinidad and Tobago, the murder count is at 587 and is heading to a record high this year once again. And the most incompetent Minister of National Security, always sleeping on the job, he has sleeping away at the helm, my brothers and sisters. our citizens are suffering. Our citizens are struggling. And while our citizens is forced to beg for little hampers, for little scraps, for little food card, where is the leadership of this country? Dr. Rowley and his band of misfit are feasting his lamb, ham, and jam, is ramage at the Prime Minister residence, brothers and sisters. During the Standing Finance Committee of the Parliament, we had the opportunity to examine the allocation of funds to the various ministries and the detailed expenditure in the various ministries, my brothers and sisters. I highlighted to the Minister of Youth Development and National Service. No, I didn't highlight no special branch report about land grabbing. We will deal with that on another occasion. But I highlighted to the Minister of Youth Development and National Service the exorbitant disparities in the funding towards youth programs, with being allocated one set, and when you look at the revised estimates, half or quarter of it being utilized. There has been significant cuts in these youth programs, brothers and sisters. But on the other side, what we saw was where the increases lie. We saw while it was fete after fete after fete happening at the Prime Minister residence, they increased the allocation for entertainment at the Prime Minister, under the line item for the Prime Minister entertainment, from $850,000 to $50 million, brothers and sisters. You can imagine that? An increase from $850,000 to $50 million, when the regional corporation across this country had to experience a cut in funding in their programs by $3 million each. This is a very sad state of affairs, my brothers and sisters. While the citizens are struggling, the Rowley PNM is busy fetting. They fet and celebrate while the rest of us mourn the debt of affordability. We mourn the debt of decency, and we mourn the debt of economic stability here in Trinidad and Tobago. Worse yet, a government minister had the audacity to tell citizens to travel aboard and see how sweet it is in Trinidad and Tobago. You all remember that fella? He's known for the big stoops that he gave. The big stoops. That minister telling citizens to understand how sweet it is to travel aboard. Imagine the insensitivity of this minister. Are the citizens supposed to take solace in watching the life or lifestyle of their relatives abroad? That is not leadership. That is lunacy. Brothers and sisters, we have been calling upon this government to return the green hampers from the COVID pandemic, to return this green hamper. We have made that call on several occasions, including the leader had issued the call in the parliament, calling upon the government to return the green hampers to vulnerable families. We got a commitment, budget after budget, from those on the government benches, that it will become a permanent staple in the services being offered by the Ministry of Social Development. From then to now, brothers and sisters, 2 years have passed, and they have not returned the green hampers to the vulnerable families. Tonight, I use this opportunity to call upon the Keith Rowley administration once more to return the green hampers to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. In addition to the food card that we distribute during the Christmas season, we should be distributing healthy vegetables, locally grown, produced by our farmers here in Trinidad and Tobago, brothers and sisters. But you all remember what went on with that hamper fiasco? We had people giving out hampers, posting up on PNM Facebook pages. Failed and former PNM candidates were given hampers to distribute for political mileage and for photo ops, brothers and sisters. I say give the hampers out to those who occupy state offices, all the MPs, 41 MPs across the board, and also the regional corporation, so it can come down to the villages, to the communities, to the people who needs it the most. Do not use it for political mileage as an election is around the corner, my brothers and sisters. You all remember when hundreds of citizens lined up in the hot sun by South Park waiting on help. What did the Rowley government had to say? They called them needy and greedy. Some were needy, some were greedy. Brothers and sisters, that is how they label our deserving, our underprivileged citizens, brothers and sisters. But we were warned. We were warned of this type of behavior. You all remember when we were told to start riding our bicycle to work and using coal pots? That is the PNM policy. They were told that we have to cut back on eating macaroni pie. That is the PNM policy, brothers and sisters. And now this government has turned those warnings into reality, dismantling our economy brick by brick, coal pot by coal pot, and taking the macaroni pie out of the mouths of our citizens, my brothers and sisters. This Christmas, more young people will face unemployment than ever before in our nation's history. We have over 50,000 persons in this country losing their jobs since this Rowley administration came into office, closing down company after company. From the closure of Caroni Green, the closure of seafood industry, to the closure of Petrotrin, brothers and sisters, and the list goes on and on. However, under a responsible government, under the leadership of Kamla Persad-Bissessar, between 2010 to 2015, we had over 55,000 permanent jobs created in this country. Brothers and sisters, some parents cannot afford gifts or even a proper meal for their children. Single mothers are forgotten. They are neglected and they are left to fend for themselves. My heart goes out to them and to every vulnerable citizen that is relegated to hoping for a food card, a far cry from the dignity they once had, my brothers and sisters. Let us remember the difference between that, what is happening at this point in time, and the life under the People's Partnership government. Under Kamla Persad-Bissessar leadership, my brothers and sisters, there were things like the baby grant. You all remember the baby grant? Yes, brothers and sisters. During the festive season, I recall in 2010, under the People's Partnership, our Honorable Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar provided a 20% discount on food items. I see MP Barry Padarat nodding his head there. He was part of the system where discount was provided on things like oil, flour, rice in the groceries, so that person can enjoy the ease on their pockets. What it is this PNM administration is doing for the poor, for the underprivileged, and the vulnerable, brothers and sisters. It is sufferation and suffering, taxes and more taxes, property tax. And if you can't pay a property tax, you know what they're going to do? They're coming to take it in time, my brothers and sisters. But more importantly, an area that I love to touch on is the area of agriculture. Because under the People's Partnership, our leader put a certain level of priority towards agriculture. Farmers were empowered with access to lands, to subsidies and incentive. Water courses were clean. Agricultural access roads were maintained, my brothers and sisters. However, under this PNM government, agriculture has been neglected. The overall production, the contribution of agriculture to our GDP has fallen by $200 million since this Keith Rowley administration came into office, my brothers and sisters. Our food security is now under threat, and from all indicators, this government is clueless and visionless to achieve food security here in Trinidad and Tobago. Instead of empowering our farmers, they prefer to import and profit while citizens pay the price. Imagine our food import bill has escalated from $5 billion to $7.3 billion under the Keith Rowley administration. The truth is, my brothers and sisters, that this PNM government has abandoned the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Only PNM friends and family thrive, while the rest of us have to suffer here in this country. But let me remind this government, the people are watching, the people are listening, and the people will never forget how this administration has made their Christmas darker, their table emptier, and their hearts heavier. My brothers and sisters, do not lose hope. The time for change is coming. So let us unite to build a brighter tomorrow, one where every family can enjoy the blessings of the season without fear of hardship or struggle. Together, we can return the UNC to government under the compassionate and visionary leader of the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Together, my brothers and sisters, we can rebuild this nation, restore hope, dignity, and prosperity to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So have no fear. As my brother said earlier, as night follow day and as day follow night, surely the sun shall rise again, and soon we shall see the return of the best Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the mother of the nation, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. I'll thank you.
Thank you very much, MP Ravi Ratiram, for your sterling contribution on this platform here this evening. We have quite a number of firebrand speakers left before the night is over. So I urge you to continue to listen to listen to the message of the United National Congress and listen to what are the real issues facing Trinidad and Tobago. Our next presenter is someone who has grown up in the struggles of the unions of Trinidad and Tobago. He has been the Member of Parliament for Couva South since 2010 and has represented the people of Couva South with great ambition and tenacity. Ladies and gentlemen, someone who is my brother, my colleague, and someone who gives the PNM a very hard time inside and outside of the Parliament, MP Rujanath Inder Singh.
Thank you very much, the Member of Parliament for Caroni Central, Anil Ram, Deputy Political Leader of the United National Congress, Dr. David Lee, all of my colleagues who are present here tonight. We are at a very critical juncture in Trinidad and Tobago's history, from a political point of view and also as it relates to the future of Trinidad and Tobago. And you have assembled in your numbers here tonight in Caroni Central at Three Roads Junction, giving a clear signal that you are prepared to return Kamla Persad Bissessa as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago and to rescue our country. Why are we here tonight? We are on the cusp, we are on the eve. Constitutionally, a general elections can be called by September or December, between September to December of 2025. But Trinidad and Tobago cannot bear, Trinidad and Tobago cannot bear another 5 years of Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley and the People's National Movement, and in Caroni Central and across the 39 constituencies in Trinidad and the 2 in Tobago, we must begin the journey to marshal the forces and the troops to ensure that whenever the general elections is called, the United National Congress, led by our visionary and great leader, is the government of Trinidad and Tobago. And why I am saying so? The reality is this country is in crisis. I see former senior superintendent of police listening very attentively, and he can tell you that indeed law-abiding citizens are under attack. And when a teacher outside of the Memorial Primary School can be attacked in a very vicious manner, I think over 25 bullets was targeted at his vehicle. When a teacher can become the victim of an attempted assassination, you know that we are in trouble. When a private soldier, a private in the regiment, a very young soldier, is gunned down in Arima, you know we are in trouble. When a fireman was riding a fire truck this morning and the driver of the fire truck negotiated the corner near the Siparia market and the door fall out because of a defective fire tender, you know we are in trouble. And the gentleman, thank God the gentleman was not injured severely or seriously. It may look comical, but that is how our vehicles within the national security apparatus has been allowed to deteriorate under the most incompetent Minister of National Security in the political history of Trinidad and Tobago, in the person of Fitzgerald Hines. And if the PNM Screening Committee, led by the Prime Minister, who is the Minister of National Security, does not have confidence to bring him back to face the general elections of 2025, we must continue to say and agitate, we do not want Fitzgerald Hines as the Minister of National Security. When $3.5 billion cannot be accounted for, when the Auditor General has raised red flags, as it relates to the expenditure of taxpayers taxpayers' money to over $3.5 billion. And a judicial officer in the highest courts of our land, the Privy Council is concerned about why the Minister of Finance is not under investigation. Also, you know we are in serious trouble and the UNC must rescue Trinidad and Tobago, my brothers and sisters. That is the reality of where we are. And whilst my colleague MP David Lee will address this later, on during his presentation, when you know and you have been told and she has presented the evidence to the point where we have seen clearly that over $462 million have been overspent in the construction of an airport in Tobago. We demand value for money and we demand an investigation. And tonight all I want to say is that I, with the rest of my colleagues, fully endorse our leaders' call for an investigation, whether it is a police probe, whatever probe, but we want to ensure, it's not that we are against any airport in Tobago. The UNC is committed to the unitary state of Trinidad and Tobago. But at the end of the day, my brothers and sisters, this government cannot continue to splurge. They cannot continue to splurge on taxpayers' money without willing to account to the taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago how our monies have been spent. And that is why I will tell you, and it is rather passing strange, that they sent a man today in the post-cabinet press briefing who cannot account for $3.5 billion, but they sent him to attempt to account for missing $462 million. That is to show you how they continue to display a sense of disdain, a sense of contempt, and a sense of arrogance to the taxpaying people of Trinidad and Tobago. They do not care, despite our calls for accountability and good governance. Rowley don't care. And in his response, and I will say more on that later on in my presentation when I deal with the SRC report, you saw the cold-heartedness, you saw the arrogance, you saw the contempt of the Minister of Finance. Coming out during his interaction with the press, and he attempted to confuffle and belittle and in a way humiliate the reporters who were questioning him. Poor Darius Polo, he attempted to make a circus out of her who was attempting to find out about the negotiating process and the collective bargaining process and unions' position on 4% or whether they wanted the negotiations reopened. I felt insulted. I felt humiliated. I felt a sense of pain. How could a minister of government treat a sitting reporter who was attempting to get information on behalf of the ordinary citizens of Trinidad and Tobago? And he continues to also berate Urvashi Tiwari Rupnarayan, continuing again in their quest to provide information for the taxpayers and the ordinary citizens of this country. And you have a minister of finance who thinks he's the Lord of Lords. He thinks apparently he's sitting somewhere within a feudal system. He sees himself as an overlord. He sees himself probably because of his complexion, someone who as a slave master riding a horse and attempting to be not being able to account to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, my brothers and sisters. And that leads me to the very important point now of where is this government in terms of its position on the Salary Review Commission report, the 120th report. And the opposition will not rest on this issue because we in the opposition, your party, you have been the salt and earth in Caroni Central and throughout the length and breadth of this country. The rank and file, you have been the energy, you have been the support, you have been the backbone of the UNC. And we in the UNC, we have always stood in the defense of the working class. We have stood on the side of the poor and the vulnerable. And this was clearly demonstrated between 2010 and 2015 when Kamla Persad Bisasa and the People's Partnership Government pursued programs and policies which led to people-centered development and an unparalleled improvement in your quality of life and standard of living. And I do not know how many of you did literature in school, and you can recollect a book by the name of Animal Farm. How many of you can recollect that? Written by George Orwell. And you know, the greed and the lust to get their hands on this back pay, and the way that they accepted this report, because I want to remind you, the Prime Minister said, I will bear that cross without retribution. And he said too that he was part of a government that felt that the management of the country must be properly compensated. And I want to tell Rowley tonight, if he saw himself and his cabinet as the management of the country, he saw himself as the CEO or the executive chairman of the company or the government, I want to tell him that in the private sector, based on failures after failures, fiasco after fiasco, Rowley and his entire cabinet would have been sent packing by the shareholders, who are the people. What have been, if you have invested your votes, the people gave them a mandate, and what have been the returns to the shareholders of Trinidad and Tobago, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Has there been any improvement in your education, in the school system, in the infrastructure, in health? Has the economy grown? Has there been any diversification of the economy? Has there been any job creation? Nothing. And that is why I would have told Dr. Rowley, if he wants to parallel himself as being in charge of the management of this country in tandem with his members of cabinet, they will be fired by the shareholders of Trinidad and Tobago. And this coming elections, I urge the shareholders who are the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago to send every one of them packing when the general elections. And you see, my brothers and sisters, that greed to accept the report and to get their hands on the back pay. You must remember characters like Napoleon and Boxer and Old Major and Snowball and Squealer. If you read the book properly, you can understand Imbert and Hines and Al-Rawi and Stuart Young as being characters who you can understand their behavioral pattern, because the 7 commandments in Animal Farm told you no animal shall wear clothes. Whatever goes up on 2 legs is an enemy. Whatever goes upon 4 legs or has wings is a friend. No animal shall sleep in bed. No animal shall drink alcohol. No animal shall kill any other animal. And all animals are equal. But my brothers and sisters, when you deepen your knowledge of Animal Farm, that those who were in power began to enrich themselves by stealing the resources of the farm themselves, stealing milk, apples, to buy luxuries like whiskey. And doesn't that remind you of Rowley and his cabinet? And I want to tell you that they tell you to band your belly, tighten your belt, and wait for money until 2027 when we get cross-border gas. I don't know, my friend from Pointe-à-Pied could tell you if the dragon will dance or any gas coming in 2027. And I leave it at that. But I want to tell you and remind you, because Rowley is saying to you that he don't like his money to sleep out. He wants his money now. And you must accept 4% or leave it. Nothing more will be offered to you, but he wants 47% obscene and vulgar arrogance while you continue to suffer because they have failed you. And you know what this reminds me of? That famous quote in Animal Farm: all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. And that is why I am telling you that we in the UNC, we understand the pain and suffering of the ordinary citizens. We understand our party. We understand the membership. We understand the plight of the citizens of our country. And tonight, I have in my hand the order paper for the Monday sitting of the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. And on the order paper, the Chief Whip is here, but I am taking a little bit of your time, Chief Whip. Under government business, the Parliament will be convened at 10 a.m. on Monday morning. And under government business, the number one motion on the order paper, be it resolved that the House approve the 120th report of the Salary Review Commission of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago on the review of the 117th report with respect to the review of salaries and other terms and conditions of service of officers within the purview of the Salary Review Commission by the Minister of Finance. And tonight, when he comes, he might be able to tell you, I do not have a crystal ball in terms of what the Chief Whip will tell you, but I want to tell Rowley, if he is man, as he said that he will bear the political fallout, and this is a political issue, well, the Parliament is the place to debate the political issues impacting upon the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And if your name man instruct the Minister of Finance to debate this motion in the Parliament of the country. And also, my colleague, the MP for Princestown, raised the issue, and I will embellish his call. Lift the whip, and allow your members to vote on their conscience as it relates to this particular motion. And I want to ask Rowley, is it because of Adrian Leon's position on this SRC, he is no longer finding favor with the screening committee of the People's National Movement? That is, I ask Dr. Rowley, as the political leader of the People's National Movement, is it that Adrian Leons was forced out to be the candidate for Laventille East because of his position on the Salary Review Commission report? That is what we have to ask, my brothers and sisters. So Rowley, don't duck, don't run, don't hide, and attempt to mamagai and deceive the population. It is on the order paper and coming to the guile where the United National Congress will lead the charge through the political leader, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. And as I leave you here tonight, my brothers and sisters, I want to tell you, I don't want any one of you to feel sorry for Hines or McClatchy or any one of them. If the PNM don't have confidence in them, we already knew from day one since 2015 that we do not have confidence in them. And it is Kamla Persad-Bissessar and your 19 members of Parliament in the Parliament. We have stood tall. We have stood on the side of the people. We have exposed corruption after corruption, fiasco after fiasco. In fact, the only time I think this country know that it had a Minister of Labor is either when Indar Singh, as the shadow for Labor, posed a question on the order paper, or recently when the PNM screening committee rejected McClatchy. 5,000 plus murders, home robberies, invasion. Don't feel sorry for Hines. Extortion has become the order of the day. Incompetence of the highest order. And McClatchy has remained silent on outstanding negotiations, on the collapse of the collective bargaining process, on the collapse of the National Tripartite Advisory Council, on the collapse of what we would call OSHA. He has remained silent upon deaths after deaths in the workplace. And tonight I tell you, as civil society cries out in terms of making their voices heard, in terms of the future of Trinidad and Tobago, whether it is on Forex, whether it is on long outstanding negotiations, whether it is on high unemployment, crime, and whatever incompetence that Rowley has unleashed on this country, I ask of all civic-minded citizens and all who are workers in the United National Congress, if you see the importance of standing on the side of the people, and you see the importance of sending a message to the People's National Movement that the people are prepared to stop them in their tracks, assemble outside of Whitehall, and send a message to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So my brothers and sisters, I tell you, stand strong, have courage, stand with your leader, stand with the members of the National Executive of the United National Congress, and continue your mobilization in Caroni as we begin that glorious march to regain the government of Trinidad and Tobago under Kamla Persad-Bissessar. I thank you.
Thank you very much for that inspiring and enlightening contribution, MP Rujanat Indar Singh. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for MP Indar Singh. That is the firebrand of the United National Congress. That is the firebrand that Kamla Persad-Bissessar has chosen to be the representative for you and for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And it is getting very close to that time, so I will not keep you any longer. Up next is a man who I describe as a walking library. Ask him anything and he can tell you what the facts, what the numbers are. A man who has been a swimming coach, a former national footballer, a former minister in the People's Partnership Government. I give to you the Douglas himself, Mr. Senator Anil Roberts.
Thank you, my brother. Members of the head table, United National Congress, good evening to our political leader and the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Good evening. I like when I see my UNC soldiers, I get energy. But let me tell my Honorable Member of Parliament for Couva South something. No PNM have no conscience. Once there's a PNM and you reach Balize House, they just surgically remove two things, conscience and shame. The PNM have this country upside down. I want all you to understand and help me understand. You have Rowley and Mama Pool Bully who are afraid to call an election in your own party, but they say Kamla weak. Kamla call election, take on anybody and everybody every time and bust their throat. And she stands strong. Rowley running to hide. Can't call election, can't call convention, and they're balling Kamla weak. Rowley weak, this country upside down. This country, you're supposed to be intelligent, the best, brightest. You become a surgeon, a chemical engineer. You study hard, you become a professor, a PhD. And then you move on to a leadership position. That is how life should be. In this country, the PNM does promote dance, put them in charge, advertise that they dance, then say, boy, oh God, them really dance. Fitzgerald, Ethelbert, Narcolepsy, Sleepy, Sativa, Wooden Ladder, Hines, boasting that he failed common entrance. He boasting that he takes 6 subjects and pass 1. He boasting that he's a dunce and continues to put our lives at risk. I tell you, the PNM upside down. If you're dunce, hush. The next one, Camille, she take off the wig and then come through, jump out she mouth. Just so she say, let me tell all the truth. I never pass maths. I said, what she said there? She said, well, let me really tell all the truth. I didn't even take the exam. So how she's a lawyer? Because to move on, to matriculate, you had to have maths and English. But she is a minister of housing. That's why I know house bill. And the one that bill had to break down because she can't add. Because the PNM have the country upside down. Rowley is the biggest failure on God green earth. Rowley take 400 days of holiday. Rowley don't have a cabinet meeting past 2 hours. Rowley always on a golf course trying to swing a club, and the club that swing that man ain't good a little bit. And yet Rowley tell you, the citizens of the country, who supposed to vote for the Prime Minister. So in essence, the people are the bosses who select you to lead. Rowley telling the bosses, all you is to get nothing. Whether he is a teacher, nurse, policeman, fireman, port worker, laborer, whatever he is, nothing for you. But me, I, Rowley, who am the worst in history, the worst PNM Prime Minister, the worst Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the worst Prime Minister of any Caribbean nation in history. He said, oh, study that, I deserve pay, and I go pay myself. The place upside down. When this election call, anybody you see walking on the head, them going and vote PNM. Because nobody who walking on the 2 foot, chewing food with their mouth instead of the K-Packs could ever dip their finger for PNM. PNM have this country upside down. I didn't know what I wanted to come to talk to all today, no? But since we are on upside down, let me get serious now. How many issues I could tell you, no? I eating double so the PNM man tell me, all your UNC, all your really performing, no? But all your thief. I say, boss, thieving in your face for thief and calling somebody else thief, and you vote for thief. You come to humbug me, give me more pepper, the doubles, man. Because the place upside down. But I'm going to tell you all one story. And understand this. And listen very carefully. Because anybody listening on the social media, TV, radio, or right here in the audience, who could literally take the finger and put it upside down to vote PNM, something had to be wrong with you. Let me tell you how upside down this PNM is. We had divers suffering in a pipe for 39 hours. Put there by the PNM. Up to now, they ain't answer why they were recommissioning that pipe that was not used when the UNC had bust the mark that Rowley, Smallpin, and Paria was playing games with Wilmer Ruperti, Trafigura, Delcy Rodriguez, and PDVSA while sanctions. Trump coming, we go get the truth. Marco Rubio coming, we go get the truth. Elon Musk coming, we go get the truth. And when we bust the mark that Venezuelan oil was coming in here, going to Point-a-Pierre and going back to Venezuela, they switch off transponder, but the Aldan, we know it went to Palo Alto, Venezuela. When I asked Franklin Can, how many barrels of oil, of fuel came to Trinidad and went back out in that month of April when Kamla Persad Bisesa bust that mark? It was 148,000 barrels of fuel, we thought. Franklin Can admitted at that point it was 1.2 million barrels of fuel. at approximately 85 US per barrel going into there and to Venezuela. Understand how corrupt the PNM is. But when that get spread, they had to find a next way to get the oil in and out secretively. And all of a sudden we know man gone in a pipe to clean out, dig out, and refresh and recommission a pipe that was defunct. You see, you have to analyze. Those lawyers who are sitting here will know. When somebody does something wrong, you have to find out why they did it. It's called the mens rea. For you to be guilty, you have to have a motivation, a motive to do the crime. So when you think a normal human being, if they are inside here, 180 people, outside another 90 people, and 3,000 listening at home, each and every one of us, if we had proof of life, we know a man come out a pipe and they have other men down there. Every single one of us would make every effort to go and get them in. Yes or no? Every single one. So why the PNM didn't? Because they have no conscience. They extricate the conscience that it is not a joke I'm making. They have no heart. They have no conscience. They upside down. To leave man. Just in India, you all would have seen a cave fall down. Millions of tons of rocks fall down on some miners. And the Indian government bringing everything, army thing, blow up thing. They don't know if the men dead, if they crush, if they're alive. But they put man life, they drill and they went down, they send down food, they send down water. And 38 days later, they find the men and save 85 lives. Hey, it was the PNM knew. Understand this. The PNM knew that there are men alive down there in a pipe. A man come out and say, my boys and them right there. I hear them bawling, you hear them tapping, and you leave them there to die slowly, 39 hours suffocating. Let me tell you how it upside down. Because that disgusting, heartless PNM want to offer the families $100,000. That is 2,500 TT per hour of suffocation. Every hour that they suffered, one with a break leg, one mash up, one begging to hope to see children. And they suffer and they breathe and they're waiting for somebody to come. They say, we right here, people must come. Country, somebody must come. People love we are good people, somebody must come. 1 hour gone. The PNM say that hour is 2,500. And the next hour come, and they're suffering and they're wondering where all you. And hour by hour, they're getting less and less oxygen, closer to death, wondering why the people of Trinidad and Tobago forsake them under there, dying slowly. While the PNM gallery and play games with Rowley's Inez Gate friends. But let me tell you how upside down this is. In order to fight against the families of those that lost loved ones, the PNM pay Rowley golfing partner, Rowley Senior Counsel, Gilbert Peterson, $8.9 million to defend his own friend, Newman George, who Rowley put in pariah when Rowley shut down Petrotrain because Rowley friend, who does dance bareback, had to gallery and get away. Rowley friend, Inez Gate neighbor, Gilbert Peterson, $8.9 million in legal fees. Not to support the people, not to support the families, not to support the widows, not to support the children left without the breadwinner. $8.9 million for Rowley scotch drinking, shrimp eating, golfing partner whose golf game sucks just as bad as Rowley. Gilbert Peterson. Because this country upside down. And PNM like to call people thief. PNM thieving before PNM was PNM. The DNA of PNM is thieving. The PNM just thief in your face and say, look at Bali's house, how great it is. A whole thief house. But this country upside down. Because in Inez Gate, which is a development in Tobago, built by Warner Construction. Warner Construction is Rowley, well they say friend and business partner, but it's really family. Eh? Rowley connected to Warner cousin. That cousin. Shampa Kujo is a Warner. That Rowley cousin. Don't get that by the half to Bogonian and let's get the Zeppo from right down inside. And in Inez Gate, here who living in Inez Gate, to show you how this country upside down. While councillors can't get dieseline, while your car get money to clean out drain, your car cut recreation ground, your car get picture to fix road, your car get releases, they cut in your budget. If you ask for 80 million, they tell you you're getting 30, but they only release 12. That is what they do, citizens. But here who living in Inez Gate? Rowley and his wife. Newman George and the blue hair lady speaker of the house. Gilbert Peterson Senior Counsel who get 9 million to defend Paria, who is Newman George, who is the neighbor in Inez Gate, and get a bunkering contract. All you know what is bunkering? That is something them oil people as do, you get collect oil. What a senior counsel lawyer who study and went you wouldn't know about bunkering. You know how many citizens who are experts in oil and gas, chemical engineering, apply for bunkering license and never get? Gilbert Peterson just so get it. This country upside down. And right next door to Gilbert Peterson, you know who is there? A lady called Ingrid Lashley. She is on the chairperson of 9 PNM boards, controlling over $1 billion of your assets next door to Raul. You know who else next door right there? In just 1 square kilometer? Alvin Hilaire, the central bank governor who was given that work when they fired Jawala Rambaran, who they have to pay money for wrongful termination and denial of opportunities, right there in Inez Gate. That is what has happened to our country. A web of corrupt individuals controlling every dollar so they could tell themselves, we go take the pay, all is to get nothing. But you know the funny thing? Citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, not all you here, and not all you who care about your family and think before you vote, but some people vote for that. They vote to get nothing. They vote that what Kamala give them, Rowley take it. And then they vote after Rowley take everything from them for Rowley to give himself more on top of control everything. Please help me understand that, because I might have to start to walk on my head to make sense of this country. There is one way to start to make sense of it, and that is to remember and realize that a vote is not a football game. I just support Manchester United since 1977. For the last 12 years, we play nonsense. Yesterday, we get Lex 2-0 from Arsenal. I just get vexed for 5 minutes, but that don't impact my life. It don't impact my child laptop. It don't impact the fuel that I have. To pay to put in my car. It don't impact that when I had to duck bullet down in the mall. It don't have an impact or an effect on my life. Election is not a sporting event. Election is not red versus yellow or blue and yellow versus red. and rah, rah, rah. That's not election. Because when you vote, it impacts your life. And when you vote and you think you vote for the upside down PNM, and Rowley is telling you the economy is shattered. You can't get foreign exchange. Children cannot get job. A girl with 18 ones working in a bar serving rum and soda. The country in a total mess. The energy sector decimated. We are energy producers originally. We are now leeches on the world because of Rowley and the PNM. He has taken the essence of who we are and sold it and flitted it away. But Rowley is telling you, when you go to the hospital and have to wait 14 hours to see a doctor and the nurses cost you 3 times. When you have to sit down on a chair that have pigeon feces on it and rat run over your foot in a hospital. When you can't get medicine and you have to get chemo and they cannot even mix the chemo. When there are no oncology drugs. When the health sector is in total shambles. 28 babies die in a NICU because they give a contract to somebody who didn't even know how to clean. But your mother has teach you how to clean from the time you is a baby. One thing we know, because all our parents could cook, is how to clean and keep things nice and clean and germ-free. PNM cannot even keep a place clean. The education sector in shambles. They build 4 schools, Tim Gopi build 106. Gate, they cut the gate, children cannot get money to study. Nothing working. But you know what Rowley says? Nothing is working. Economy shattered. Energy sector bad. Education bad. Sport waste of time. Culture nothing. Crime, Lord help we. But hear what? I put it mark all the same people for all to vote for. The country upside down. The PNM is giving you the same exact candidates, 88%. They make one change. Hines. All right, we know Hines dance. We know he failed combinations. We know he dotes. We know he had no brain. We know he buy wooden ladder for $1 million. We know he ain't good. We know. But you go blame Hines for Gadsby Dolly. You go blame Hines for Coleman Butt. You go blame Hines for Rohan Potol. You go blame Hines for Are we not doing nothing in local government except taking growth hormone and pumping up to look like he's strong? You can't blame one man for that. You know who we are to blame? All of us citizens. We. Yes, you might look at yourself and say, but not me, I don't vote there. Let me tell you why you to blame too. Because you have to get out there and convince your neighbor. Convince your cousin. Convince your young people who feel election is not important. Because that's what they do. They make you feel that everything is the same. They go tell you UNC performed good, but them UNC thief. Really? Nobody could thief like PNM. PNM does thief and nothing works. When UNC in government, you see Cuba Hospital, you see campus building, you see MIC centers, David Lee built 12, you see NESC centers, you see aquatic center, cycling velodrome, national tennis center, 89 grounds, you see 106 schools, you see smooth road, 74% of the population getting water, you see action, you see book grant, you see increase in pension for you the people. So as long and laptop could go on and on, but when you vote for you must vote for UNC. Let me repeat, when you vote for you When you go home, watch yourself in the mirror and say, I'm going to vote for me. And once you're voting for you must vote UNC. Anything other than that, you're not making sense. Because when you vote UNC, your money has more value. When you vote UNC, you have more jobs. When you vote UNC, you have water supply. When you vote UNC, you have a safer nation. When you vote UNC, you have opportunity for young people. When you vote UNC, the border will be protected. When you vote UNC, the energy sector will boom. When you vote UNC, agriculture will get a lift and we will start to eat what we grow. So once you vote for you must vote UNC. To vote PNM means you're upside down. So ladies and gentlemen, get ready. The election is coming. And one thing I tell you, the PNM know how to do better than thief money. It's thief election. So all you need to get out there and work, collect the data, make sure, keep vigilant, watch them, go in the polling station, check them, because they have PNM everywhere. And PNM have no conscience. We will not let them steal the election. We will blow them out by a massive margin. We will have international observers. Why Rowley don't want international observers? Only because he planned a thief election. So ladies and gentlemen, join together, band together, converse together, talk when you go in the pharmacy, when you go in the grocery, when you walk down the road, talk and pull out the people. Pull out the people in East-West Corridor, down in South San Fernando, West, La Oqueta, Tunapuna, St. Joseph, Sawabata. Area, Chaguanas East, Tangle Grande, Maruga, Tableland, pull them out. You have family all over. Call them, WhatsApp them, make sure and tell them. Vote for you, which means vote UNC. Thank you very much. God bless.
Must say thank you very much to our brother, Senator Roberts, for that very enlightening and inspiring contribution. This afternoon on the Pavement Report, breaking down the real issues so that you can understand. Ladies and gentlemen, young people of the United National Congress and of Trinidad, and Tobago. With the next general elections coming soon, You all have one job. You must riot with your index finger. The UNC will step in again. We have saved this country once. We have saved this country twice, and we will do it again under the astute leadership of the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisasa. So as we continue on the program here this afternoon, we have in our midst a former chairman of the MIC, a businessman by profession, and also a deputy political leader of the United National Congress and member of parliament for Pointe-à-Pied, the Honorable MP David Lee on the platform on the pavement report here tonight. Welcome.
Warm up, Dubraj. Bring out the camera. Sitaram, good night to everyone. I know it's a bit late. It's really a pleasure being here, hosted by our MP for Caroni Central. Can we give Arnold a round of applause? A terrific meeting. It's really difficult coming after MP Indar Singh and Senator Roberts. I don't know. I think it's time to go home. I told Anil I need some of that growth hormone that he gave in Faris. So I really don't know if he has anything to spare for me. But I have some serious things to discuss. But I hope I can entertain you all like how Anil did. Right? It's really, really tough. Tonight, Trinidad and Tobago joins the UNC. We join you as a government in waiting. For 9 years, you have waited on this government to deliver jobs. For 9 years, you have waited for them to deliver a stronger economy, a safer society, stable education sector, and sustainable infrastructure. Yet in 9 years, you have received nothing. Nothing up to date. We have always told the people of this nation that under Kamla Prasad Bisasa, you have an opposition that never stops working for the people of this nation. And I know Mrs. Bisasa, our leader, is locked on and listening to every word that Anil has said here tonight. So I hope he has a good lawyer. Tonight I want to congratulate the opposition leader for exposing yet another major scandal of this government. A major scandal. Just as she exposed the meritless scandal, just as she exposed the Nelson Gate scandal, the leader of the opposition, Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bisasa, has exposed this government's wastage of over $460 million in cost overruns at the ANR Robinson International Airport in Tobago. Never forget, ladies and gentlemen, the billions lost in the WGTL scandal. Never forget the millions lost in the Brian Lara Stadium. Never forget the millions lost in the Las Alturas housing development. It was the PNM that wasted over 200 million of your taxpayers' dollars at NGC for a failed Atlantic Train 1. Now they have come again, this time to tell you, and we have overruns of over $400 million in that Tobago Airport project. Now this Tobago Airport project is Rowley's baby. It is his baby, it is his marker, it is one of his legacies. So he will try to open that airport before he calls elections. And that is the problem. And Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar has exposed the wastage on that Tobago airport. When you add up the total sum of what that airport will cost you, the taxpayers, and it is just an extension of the A&R Robinson Airport, it will cost you more than what the UNC did to build our Piarco International Airport. All right? So tonight we reject the fragile defense of the Prime Minister Rowley that modifications occurred and there were some elements of variations in the airport that was not unusual with big projects. This is what he said. This is not a variation, this is not a modification, but this is $500 million squandermania due to incompetence and mismanagement. And I have in I have the report, one of the two reports, the Gleeds report, and I'll talk about it a little bit more. The people of this nation must know that this is no ordinary political banter, but we in the UNC have the proof that this government has been running a coordinated effort to squander your taxpayer dollars on this project while gaslighting you into thinking all is well. It is a brazen dishonesty that the PNM's appointees have been in the papers, as Anna will tell you, telling this country that this project would finish earlier than expected, when the very entities hired by this government to review the A&R terminal project have been produced a damning picture. The chaos of this project is detailed in two reports. And I want the media to get it right here tonight. The details in this project is about two reports. First, the McDonald report, and then the Gleeds report that I have here. Both reports were produced by firms hired by this government, not UNC, by this government. The government hired the McDonald, a reputable UK firm, to do a diagnostic on the A&R terminal. They were hired to examine what was wrong with the project. The McDonald report was submitted in December 2023, last year. We are in 2024. Despite the big talk of this government about the airport finishing within time, the McDonald report revealed that there were cost overruns of 26% of the original price and a delay of 131% of the original date of completion. Now, the McDonald report was done in December 2023. The McDonald report, as sanctioned by this PNM government, revealed total chaos by the state-owned company called NIDCO, the project manager of the ANR terminal construction. Let me break this down. The international firm hired by the government uncovered that NIDCO, the arm of the state responsible to manage this project, the Tobago Airport project, was not effectively fulfilling its role. So while the Prime Minister and his cabinet were flying back and forth to Tobago, boasting about the progress on this terminal, here is what McDonald discovered. Now, McDonald discovered this in December 2023. We are in December 2024. One, McDonald discovered there was a lack of experience in terms of managing contracts and non-existent previous airport constructions and commissioning experience. So what McDonald is saying, NIDCO, you know that company loves to buy boats, this NIDCO company. Right, so they now into airport construction or managing, and they have no experience in managing a project of that size. How could the government that boasts about value for money have people with no experience in building an airport of this project, of this size? Was this just jobs for the boys? Two, lack of proper incentives to achieve objectives. Three, lack of effective project management. 4, reporting inconsistencies conspiring against decision making. So while this government boasted pillar to post about this project, millions were being spent on absolutely chaos, as NIDCO didn't have a clue how to manage this project. As a matter of fact, NIDCO chaos was so major, McDonald recommended that they remove forthwith from the firing line of this project. As part of the diagnosis, McDonald recommended that NIDCO stop managing this project. Now, this morning or this afternoon, you saw Minister Imbert, the Minister of Finance, came to give a song and a dance and a Nancy story. And I'm asking the question, why is the Minister of Finance accounting for NIDCO and the failure of NIDCO in this Tobago project? Now, NIDCO supposedly supposed to fall under the Works and Transport Minister. So I am asking the question, why is Minister Imbert so interested in this project? And we will say more. As part their recommendation, McDonald, and I quote, although we propose that NIDCO is retained as the owner, we suggest that NIDCO is removed from the firing line and that total responsibility and control over this Tobago Airport project is vested in another company. For 4 years, this government misled citizens to believe that all was good with this Tobago Airport project. But behind closed doors and behind construction lines, it was chaos without direction. McDonald got the Ministry of Finance, this is Imbert Ministry, to engage the services of Gleeds International Limited to provide program management services to the tune of $16.8 million. Trinidad and Tobago, I want you to follow this timeline, because in November 2024, last month, just last month, is where the web of untruths and deceit unfolded. After NIDCO's disastrous performance, the government hired Gleeds, the new company, to provide program management for this project. On the 8th of November last month, 2024, the chairman of NIDCO, Herbert George, appeared in the Guardian newspaper stating that the Tobago project remains on budget and has faced no major setbacks. But this public relations job from NIDCO was more than misleading. It was a cover-up from the report that Gleeds would submit to the government weeks later. And I have said I have the Gleeds report here. I have it here. We have the information. Gleeds submitted a report to the government dated November 22nd, 2024. That November 22nd, 2024 report submitted by Gleeds here has some damning information. It was the Gleeds report which stated that cost overruns could reach up to 67 million US dollars or 461 million TT dollars. It is stated in today's Express. Therefore, to the Guardian, I want to talk about the Guardian. I know Anil addressed that this morning in his coffee and doubles. Therefore, to the Guardian, who has been questioning the leader's figures, our leader. Her figures are based on this said report as at the 22nd of November 2024. McDonald was paid by this government, McDonald is the first report, to diagnose the project. McDonald recommended that NIDCO be removed. Gleed was hired by this government. Gleed produced this most recent report. This government's attempt to mislead the population was not limited to hiding the overruns and delays, but they were prepared to put the safety of citizens at risk. The Gleeds report tells this government that while they appreciate the need to have a soft opening of the airport early in 2025, because this government is pushing to open that airport before election, the preference would be to wait until the completion of the contractor's commissioning, testing, and training period. So this government was willing to sacrifice safety, OSHA, and all regulations just to have a campaign talking point. As a matter of fact, this Gleeds report states that there appears to be some confusion within the ministry regarding the project's completion date. That's page 5 of this report. The government was trying to rush the terminal's opening without adequately testing and commissioning the equipment and facility. Tonight we support the call of the Leader of Opposition for a criminal investigation and the cost overrun, because this country needs to answer on why individuals without experience in this field was hired initially. The country needs to answer on why NIDCO failed in its reporting and incentives. Why did NIDCO fail in its project management? There has been an investigation. There has to be an investigation in all the flaws of this project, because it has cost you, the taxpayers of this country, millions of dollars at a time when hundreds of citizens are suffering. Given that China Railway, you know I'm the only good Chinese, given that China Railway, the major contractor submitted a claim exposure of 31 claims with a risk exposure of $200 million, arising out of a combination of delays and other costs. Was this due to NIDCO's failure in project managing? Was this cost overrun due to design not meeting building codes and specifications? Did NIDCO drop the ball while overseeing? Tonight we ask, why did NIDCO replace a company called CEP Limited from Oversight and Supervision Engineering with another company, which cost this government a further $11.5 million. So they got rid of a company called CEP Limited. That was the same company, CEP, that was who identified the defects in the terrestrial project, the housing HEC project that failed under this government, and they had to demolish all those townhouses up in the east in terrestrial, the same CEP that identified the flaws and the defects. Tonight we ask, why did NIDCO extend the services of another company called Zabir SL for $5.2 million? Tonight we ask, why did NIDCO extend the services of ACQ and Associates for land acquisition by a further $22.6 million? And you would have heard Anil here tonight talk about our families of those pariah divers. And up to the day, not a cent has been given by this wicked government to the divers' families. But they can pay their senior.
Wow, I know we're starting a bit late. We're trying to get some stuff loaded up that we won't be able to use, so we're going to do it a little differently now. We're going to do it manually, eye to eye, person to person. I'm Terrence Howard, and I'm so honored to have been invited here to speak at Oxford. Chris is so magnificent. He's been the kindest person, and he's